Back tonight, and thanks for staying on. The South African Democratic Teachers Union has called for a full investigation into the conduct of former Chief Justice Sandile Ngcobo and retired Judge Thokozile Masipa. They are part of the independent panel set up to investigate the Phala Phala matter involving President Cyril Ramaphosa. Sadtu General will also lodge a formal complaint with the Judicial Services Commission. For more on this, we are now joined by Sadtu General Secretary Mugwena Maluleke. Mugwena, good evening, and thank you very much for your time. Let's start here before we get into the core of what you're raising here. First and foremost, it's not a secret that many teachers, in particular belonging to Sadtu, are not happy with President Cyril Ramaphosa and his government, because they do feel that their performance when it comes to handling issues of public servants has not been that great. So it's quite surprising that Sadtu would come to the support of the president in this matter.
Good evening, Mlole, and to your viewers at home. It's very important that we put things in context. We are calling for an investigation to our esteemed judges that I really respect their competences and their expertise. I personally have worked and interacted with Justice Ngcobo on several occasions when I was presenting the issues of remuneration in the commission that he was chairing. And therefore, it is important that we established whether this particular report is going to give the parliament what they wanted. But we are saying that the chaos and crisis and uncertainty that has been created, it affects the teacher directly in the classroom. It affects your child and my child, who basically, we are seated with a rent that has plumped more than 3% in terms of the value. And clearly it means we cannot afford bread. So yes, the teachers are not happy. Yes, we are not happy about the performance of the AC. However, we must never promote evidence that is circumstantial, evidence that is based on hearsay, because we ourselves, when we represent our teachers, we believe that we need to go deeper into making sure that that evidence that we have can be able to stand the test of time. So we are calling for principles here, and we don't want to cast aspersion to our esteemed judges. Hence, we are calling for an investigation, because we believe that the public is relying on a report that is flawed, that the public relies on that on the basis that we rely on our judges, we rely on our judiciary, and therefore if we are going to be relying on a report that is flawed, we are going to create a situation where the economy that has already collapsed, we're going to have to see more investors leaving our country. That, to me, and our organization, the National Executive Committee, is at the center of us defending democracy, defending our constitution, so that we can grow the economy, so that the teachers can get the increase that they want, that the health sector must also improve the services. So that is the context under which we are operating. So whether we are happy or not happy, we must never allow a situation where rules are not followed. Judges must always follow the rule of law. Yeah. They must always make sure that their judgment or their conclusion is based on evidence.
Right. I know you've already mentioned that you hold, for example, former Chief Justice Ngcobo in high esteem. And you know, people would listen to Sadtu and say, but why are educators, people who are competent in education, questioning judicial officers, people who are professionals, who are competent in law? On what grounds are you questioning their judgment?
We are questioning it on the basis that this particular judgment or this particular conclusion, as we have reviewed it and read it, and how it affects us, because it affects us because we need stability in the country, we need certainty, and because of that, and I want to emphasize, it affects everybody, because we are interested in the parliament doing the right thing. But is the parliament given a product that they can rely upon, that they can act upon to hold the president accountable? Are they being given a product by our esteemed judges, a product that can be able to say, yes, he has got something to answer? They are basing their conclusion on may have also that they also indicated their limitation of evidence, that they have not been able to interview the people that have said statement. So we take it as a desktop research which cannot be admitted. We represent teachers. We are always being told circumstantial evidence is not admissible in that. So why would the parliament rely on that? So it's not about the defense of the president. In actual fact, the statement says, allow the investigation by the other institution to continue so that you are able to hold the president accountable, because the parliament must always rely on something that has got substance, that cannot be questionable. However, we have reviewed this particular thing, and therefore we are the teachers who teach the judges. And obviously, therefore, we cannot be standing aloof and say we are not part of the society. We are citizens of this country. We are trade unionists. We are activists. We are defending our economy. We've got to defend the jobs. We're going to lose more jobs. And therefore, that means we're going to have poverty. That is increasing.
So you're saying the work, the report, and the findings of the panel should ensure that it can be acted upon. You've already mentioned that, and doesn't create a constitutional crisis. But you're also saying that that it should not be misleading on the facts and the law. So the panel says that the truth of what happens lies beneath the unanswered questions that are foreshadowed by what we are told from the information placed before us. What is the information placed before us? This is information that is common cause, some of it undisputed, even by the president's own version as to what happened. 2, as well as inherent probabilities, which maybe we can argue. And 3, we are able to make our findings, provide reason, therefore, and make our recommendations based on that. So if we look on the president's own version, where he says the big issue here is that, yes, there was foreign currency that was in his property, in a sofa, that was stolen in the sofa. That is not in dispute currently, and according to the president's version, is of $580,000 US, which at this particular point, the president doesn't provide evidence that it was declared anywhere. Why would Sadtu find that to be misleading?
Otherwise, if that particular facts were the facts that you and I can rely on, of course, I would not be able to rely on all those things, because then there would be no investigation. The works would not be investigating. The public protector would not be investigating. Why are these institutions, therefore, using our tax money to investigate something that you and I can easily say, you have said this, and therefore somebody says $4 billion and or $4 million, and the other one says 500,000, and so forth. So once there is no consistency in evidence, once there is no consistency in facts, we need those who have got the competencies to go and investigate. And the parliament appointed the panel to exactly help them to arrive at that particular conclusion. But the report does not help them to arrive at that particular conclusion, because it's based on facts that they or themselves are saying they need to be excavated. Yeah. So the issue is that who is going to excavate? The works has to excavate. The public protector has to do that. So let's allow in this country the law to really take its course, so that we do not have a situation where we take decision on the basis of half-cooked reports that are not helping us. And we respect the esteemed judges, but clearly you cannot go in and reference a wrong legislation when you are dealing with this, because then you are misleading the parliament.
So let's put the report aside. Let's just focus on some of the aspects of evidence that have been proffered by the president. What the president says himself concerning the source of the foreign currency. Is that not worrying enough for you as Sadtu?
Hence, we are saying, let there be a full investigation so that the president can be held accountable. We are so worried because we want the country to be stable, to grow, so that we can have full employment. But we cannot have that if we do not have closure on these particular matters. We are not here to defend the president. We are here to defend the Constitution. We are here to defend democracy, because democracy is not going to thrive on its own. If anybody is going to undermine the Constitution when you are given the responsibility to investigate, that in itself is a threat to democracy. So we will not be able to answer any kind of question because you and I are not experts of investigation. Allow the Hawks, allow the NPA to make those particular things. We can only be worried, all of us, and we're worried. And our case is about the fact that we need certainty. We have seen how the rand has lost its value. We have seen how many investors are leaving the stock exchange. And therefore, that means 2 jobs off, means many families suffering, means my teachers, our children in our classroom not being able to have more money from tax because the tax base is shrinking. And that is the issue here. We are saying let's hold each and every public officer accountable, but let's not use sentimentalism. Let's not use misleading facts to do that. Let's make sure that he has a day to answer for that. But in this report, he's not able to answer, and we're not here to represent him. He can represent himself.
Yeah. Should he then step down and allow, as you say, those investigations by law enforcement agencies, the public protector, SARS, the Reserve Bank, to continue unhindered while he is out of the system and being investigated?
Well, he has said to the public that he believes that he has not done anything unlawful, and therefore he was not going to step down. So we have not called for him to step down on the basis that we believe that he has got to be given the opportunity to answer. And once the report or the NPA serve him with the charges, clearly he will make the right decision. For now, there's no basis for that.
What are the key areas of your complaint then that you will bring to the Judicial Services Commission?
Well, we're working on our affidavit. As you are aware, that Section 14 requires that when we lay a complaint, we need to provide an affidavit. And our complaint is about the conduct of our highly competent, highly learned judges who basically have referenced a report on a wrong legislation which does not apply in this particular case. 2, making conclusions or findings on the basis of their own admission that they did not have enough evidence and therefore they were not able to test that particular evidence. They needed to do that. So by electing to make their conclusion when they should have elected not to make conclusion and then submit a report that says we don't have enough evidence to really base on that. That's law. And then all the time, all on material time, the judges or those who are held to be accountable, they need to always comply with the law. And that is one of our complaints to say, can our respected judges would have really complied with the law, complied with the code of conduct? And we believe that we don't want to cast aspersion. Let our investigation or the investigation by the Judicial Services Commission come with whatever reasons they say they did not err, but we believe that they have erred.
Yeah. What do you make then of some who have, for example, come on, like Accountability Now's advocate Paul Hoffman, who says on their plain reading of Section 34, the president, in his own version, has committed a criminal offense in that the theft of all those US dollars, however much they could be, 4 million or 580,000, on the sofa, have not been reported to the Hawks?
Well, that is the investigation that is going on, and therefore I think we need to allow the investigation to be concluded to then say, has that happened, and is that constituting the fact that the president has offended Section 34 by not reporting, because we believe that the trigger is about corruption, and therefore it is him or any other person seeing that corruption is happening and you report it. And we don't want to speculate whether he was in the country or not in the country. Let's leave that to competent institutions. Hence, we are not going to take a judgment here as Sadtu, as ones who are saying, can the Judicial Services Commission investigate the conduct of our highly respected and esteemed judges?
Yeah. So, I mean, as Sadtu, you believe that even after the president, in his own version, Mr. Ngcobo told him that there were dollars that were being stored in a sofa, the president didn't find anything wrong with that. He didn't feel that at least, one, this needs to be declared to the authorities. It must either be banked in some kind of system. That's one question. The other question is, even after it was stolen, the president still doesn't feel to say, okay, I need to make this at least be reported in the system somehow?
Well, I think that is the subject of investigation, Baba Mkhulu, and then we will be speculating on whether we want to use our feelings around those particular issues. Otherwise, if we wanted to use our feelings, the NEC would have made a judgment about our esteemed judges for this particular report. We didn't do that. We are saying we believe they have erred, and therefore we need to be proven that they have. Let's prove the president wrong by allowing the investigation and allowing him to answer for whatever has happened there. There are contradicting versions of what exactly has happened, and we believe that it's a problem. I mean, if you listen to SARS will tell you something else. Let's allow those who are competent to deal with this particular issue, deal with it. Everybody in this country has rights, and we must never trample over any other person's right.
Yeah. Is that the view that you're going to hold within the Federation, Sadtu? We know the SACP has pronounced, also saying the evidence is inconclusive, that particular report inconclusive as well. The NEC of the ANC will be receiving recommendations from the National Working Committee. Now, as Sadtu, would you say the NEC of the ANC must take a similar position as you do? I mean, of course, you can't dictate to them, but what is your opinion on the view that they should take?
Well, we can't dictate to them. We have expressed our view as Sadtu, independently of any other structure. We respect COSATU. They have not as yet taken a decision. We'll be given an opportunity to then present our view, our facts in terms of how we have reviewed this particular report, and therefore COSATU can take any other decision that they are taking around this particular issue. We do not want to speculate. We can only allow the leadership of COSATU either to call a meeting where they can allow all their affiliates to express their view, but we believe that we will not allow a situation where the laws of our country are not respected. We will not sit and not do anything when the democracy is under threat, because we believe we are nation builders. We believe that we have got to defend our democracy. We will say to COSATU, we've got to defend and make sure that the country is stable so that we can grow the jobs and grow the economy, because that is what we are all about, so that we can have bread on the table. Otherwise, this country is going to be plunged in a constitutional crisis, and that is sending the investors away from our country. That, we think, must be able to make somebody think. Thank you.
Sadtu General Secretary there, that is Mugwena Maluleke. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on.